Hey, everybody. I arrived in Quetzaltenango, Guatemala in January of 1994. I had been away from home for 2 months, and I arrived in this crazy country. And I was sent immediately to my first area. My companion took me up there. It was in the mountains, about an hour outside of Quetzaltenango, and it was a small little mountain town. And there I was for about 3 weeks with just this companion alone, trying to figure out culture, homesick, crazy companion who literally would fart into his hand and smell it. That's what I was dealing with. So you can imagine my excitement when we finally got to go down to Quetzaltenango for our P day, our 1 day off a week on a Monday. And I was finally able to play basketball, the thing that made me the happiest back in those days. So I get to the court, finally get to meet some other missionaries, and I get picked up by this tall, good-looking Latin dude whose last name was Ramos, but he actually wasn't even from anywhere in Latin America. He was from the United States and could barely speak any Spanish. And when he got there, Spanish was pretty good. So anyway, I get picked to be on his team. I was a greenie, and we were playing against this other team. And back in the day, I was actually fairly decent at basketball, and I like to drive the hoop. And I get hit sometimes. I wouldn't be afraid to call a foul. Hindsight, maybe a little bit too foul call-y. Anyway, this guy on the other team starts talking to me and kind of being kind of a little stabby with me, oh, you call a lot of fouls for a greenie. And, so we're going in, and I finally say, look, if you're good enough to guard me, you wouldn't have to foul me. So I go back to my area and start talking to my companion. I'm like, who was this guy? What was he like that? What was going on? And he said, this guy, I was Elder Whitfield. I think he worked in the office, and I was like, I don't like that Whitfield guy, man. So anyway, as time went on, I began to spend more time with Elder Whitfield, who was Aaron Whitfield, who was the guest on today's show. And I got to be really good friends with him on the mission. He was probably one of my closest guys. And on a level of true friendship, like we spent a lot of time together, even though we were never companions. And we talked about a lot of crazy stories, but he was the same as you'll see on this video. He was the same, thoughtful, kind, smart, like really, really understated, but he had opinions. He wasn't afraid to have opinions. As we speak about in the pod, he kept telling me I was going bald, and I was like, I'm not going bald. I'm not going to go bald. Well, a couple years later, my boy was right. And then we lost touch. We saw each other once after the mission. He was living, I think, in Logan, and I was living in Provo for a very short time, Utah. He came down to visit for a day, he and another friend of ours. And I think we went to a rec center, played basketball, hung out a little bit. And then I kind of lost touch with him. I remember in my late 20s, not really knowing where he was. Matter of fact, I had an email exchange with Ramos, who, I didn't tell you this. Ramos, the guy who picked me to be on his team, was the companion or had been the companion of Mr. Whitfield, Elder Whitfield at the time. And Elder Whitfield talks about his first companion in this pod. This is who he's referring to. So this Ramos guy picks me to be on his team. And then years later, he reaches out to me, finds me. I don't know what it was, MySpace back then. And I remember I emailed with him, and I remember saying, oh, have you ever had any contact with Whitfield? And he's like, no, that guy's an enigma. I don't know where he went. So somewhere down the line, I'm on Facebook, and then we connect through Facebook, Aaron and I. And I remember when he was living in Chicago. I remember when he had babies. I remember him posting videos of him speaking only Spanish to his babies. And his Spanish was always good, always, even on the mission, good. And then really good since then, I'm sure, since he's just really going in. He's a smart enough guy, and he had passion. So anyway, I followed him on Facebook, and then as he just disappeared off Facebook for a while. I think he got super political. Lost a little bit of track of him again, then kind of reconnected on Instagram. We've been connected since. And I hadn't seen him since 1994 or 5 until last June when we went to Seattle for Joe's ECNL playoffs. She played with the older team. And as luck would have it, I was like, hey, we're going to be around. Can you make it? And he and his family made the trek, rode the ferry across the island. It was probably about an hour and a half trek for them to come watch Joe play. And then we had dinner that night, and we reconnected. Since then, we've been just staying in touch, and he agreed to come on the pod. He's super thoughtful about things. He's very passionate about his just political beliefs. He loves being outside. And I think you're just really going to really enjoy our conversation. And, it is what it is. We own what we are, and we don't agree on everything, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I've been in the trenches with that guy, and we've been in some bad conditions together, and it was like the only family you get when you're there with him. So Aaron, thank you for coming on. I hope you all will enjoy this. And if anybody else wants to come on, you can see I'm fair. We just have a good time. We're not trying to change the world. And thanks for watching. Oh, and one last thing. When we went to set this up, I thought he said we need to get high and do some shots on the podcast so we'll really be loose. So going into this podcast, I take a half an edible, a couple shots of tequila, and I get on, and he's clear mind, clear head. And you can see me deteriorate throughout the freaking episode. My eyes are barely open. Look at me. This is what my eyes are supposed to look like. So by the end, I'm like this, and I can't think. So if that's what you see what's happening to me, that's what happened. Next time he's freaking doing it with me. Thanks again. All right, Aaron L. Whitfield. State and spell your name for the record. Just kidding. That's what we do in depositions. Have you ever been deposed?
Nope, I haven't. Nope.
Never been? Oh, wow, that's lucky.
I think the only time I've been in court is at the end of my first marriage.
We're going right for it?
No, I'm just, just trying to think of any time I've been in court. That was it. That's the only time I've been in front of it.
So if you were going to describe yourself politically, how would you describe your politics?
Oh, goodness. It's strange, the labels these days. I'm probably a bleeding heart liberal. I am I was raised in a very red part of Idaho, but even my little grandma, who lived to be 95, she was in the Democratic Party. She was a Democrat, which is pretty rare where we live. And then I have a degree in political science, so I kind of think I know a little bit about politics. At least at some point I did. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm a tree hugging, equal rights, DEI supporting liberal.
That's funny. So
yeah, my dad's a Democrat in political office. He's a county commissioner. And when I was growing up, he was a wildlife biologist, and then he started land trust. So he's very aligned with green initiatives. So that was, part of my upbringing. And then my sister works with special needs. My other sister works with the handicapped. So yeah.
And see, we knew each other when we were young. Watch here, I'll show you. Want to see us when we were young? Pop to the stage. Look at these two handsome devils there.
Look at that hair. Look at my hair.
Look at my hair. Damn. Do you remember
the
that?
The crazy thing is, in that picture, honestly, I've lost more hair than you have.
You used to tell me. You don't remember this, you son of a bitch. You would always tell me, you're going to go bald. You're going bald. I'm like, no, I'm not. And you were right, of course.
Dude, you're part. It's karma. I earned it. I'm going bald as well.
Well, you're like
I earned it, man. I was the biggest jerk to people when I thought they were going bald. My college roommate, we're like, it was after our mission, so I think we were, 21 to 24, somewhere in there. I gave him so much grief for going bald because I thought I was.
You can control it.
I know, it's horrible. It's horrible.
For a liberal, you should be a little more sensitive to people.
I feel like I've told you these stories, and I know we're recording here. So
no, we're recording it for your posterity, bro. So repeat it.
Yeah, we can.
Your grandkids are going to watch this.
Hopefully not. So I was not. This will surprise you a lot knowing me now. I wasn't really lined up to go on a mission. When you're junior, senior in high school, there's people in your ward, in your church that are lined up to go on a mission. I was not following the go on a mission path. And the year before I went on my mission, you go when you're 19, I was in a bus rollover. Our high school basketball team, senior year, hit a patch of ice and we rolled our bus. I ran a stop sign and got T-boned by a sweet little old lady that had no fault. And then I was in a boat accident and I was in a helicopter crash all within 12 months. So when you grow up Mormon and you survive all that, you think maybe you have a higher calling, you should go on a mission.
Yep. He saved me from all that so I could go have diarrhea in Guatemala for 2 years. Yes. Best thing.
Yes.
Don't regret it. So anyway, I know this isn't a political show, but we've never had the discussion. I just know where you are politically.
I hate's a strong word, but I hate how divisive everything is. And I hate how celebrated just unintelligent conversation is.
And lies. And listen, I'll tell you politically, I started right, like Republican, very dyed in the wool Republican. And I think probably about my right around the Patriot Act time when I was in law school, right after 9/11, I started in the war in Iraq. I started going, yeah, these guys think Cheney thinks the war's such a good idea. He should go fight in it, right? Don't send our kids to die. And then I
Yeah.
kind of started going left, and I get in law school and I learned about civil liberties, and the police don't have to tell you about your rights, and they can make you testify. They'll trick you, and you read all these cases, and I'm like, okay, no, that's not cool. So, and then that I get into in undergrad, I had a professor in economics that was a Austrian libertarian economist, which is not the Keynesian; it's a more free market. So those two things meshed together brought me to, well, I would say that I'm libertarian. Although,
I was going to say, yeah, how would you classify yourself? And that's what I would have guessed.
yeah, definitely libertarian, definitely a Ron Paul libertarian. Like, there's not very little I disagree with him on. On abortion, I literally cannot draw a line. Like, I've gone definitely more to where I'm like, yeah, you should be able to have an abortion, and if you don't want the baby, and that's Ron Paul would say, look, a life is a life. So I can't get there on abortion, but I would say definitely a Ron Paul libertarian, and so that puts me on civil liberties. It puts me very left, right? I don't think you should. I think if you get pulled over for DUI, I don't think you should have to give breath. I don't think you should have to give blood, because I think you're testifying against yourself. You're compelling evidence against yourself. So I don't think they should they shouldn't be able to do that. That's how civil liberty I am. And wars, anti-war, anti-central bank. So on a lot of things, I don't fall. Although I don't know if I've ever voted Democrat for a president. I voted for Trump in 2016. I did the other two times, but only because my Instagram followers, I let them choose for me. And this is how I knew this was going to be a landslide. The first time I did it, it was like 50, 58, 42 Trump. The next time it was like 80-20 Trump on my poll. And I was thinking, I thought for sure I was going to be voting for Harris. I was like, okay. And it didn't work out that way. So I've never voted blue on the national level.
The abortion one's it's very divisive, but I could empathize with the anti-abortion movement if there was a little bit more compassion for those kids when they're actually born.
Yeah, I get that. I feel the same way about immigration. I don't think most people are anti even illegal immigration, but they claim, their complaint is it's a drag on our social programs. Those are the same damn social programs most of these people wouldn't want to support. It's not in their political ideology to support. So the two things don't make sense to me. I don't think they care. It's just that they don't want to touch the programs that I want Elon Musk to go in and gut. Right. So it's kind of like, which is it? But on abortion, I took a class.
The crazy thing is the immigrations, what they pay into the system is massive, and most of them don't qualify. The taxes, Social Security benefits. I mean, illegal immigrants pay into our social systems and have very restricted ability to access those systems. So they're actually funding, they're actually subsidizing those exact people who are so anti-immigration. You know where I stand on some of this stuff. The immigration one's a tough one because we've never had like any kind of comprehensive immigration policy whatsoever. And
don't know why.
George W.'s been talking about it. He was talking about it when we were little kids. Like, we need to figure this out. But I think it's so hypocritical to talk about the vilification of immigrants when they are like just hoisting up our lifestyle like you wouldn't even believe. Like, talking about where I grew up in Idaho, the economy there is like 70% of Idaho is government land. So it's very close to Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Forest. So a huge piece of it is tourism. But the people that are working in those restaurants, the people that are doing all of that behind the scenes are immigrants. The other piece of the economy where I grew up is agriculture. It's the same thing. Like, the people working in the fields, a lot of them are immigrants. And then the third leg of the economy where I grew up is government, based off just those federal programs. Forest Service, BLM, national parks. Those people have been gutted as well. So I don't know. It's you're good as a friend of keeping me from getting too negative sometimes on things. But I think on this economy and like some localized economies that I'm more familiar with, I think it's pretty dire.
I don't think it's good. I had it when I was in law school. I had first let me go back to abortion real quick. On abortion, I had a class, a political science class.
Let's make sure we don't leave. Let's make sure we really hit hard on.
I just want to make my point on abortion because I honestly, Aaron, I feel like no one watches these, but I'll post them and my grandchild's going to watch it someday. Like if you could find your grandpa's podcast from 80 years ago on YouTube, you'd watch it right now. That's my theory. So someone's going to watch this at some point and be like, oh, he was really dumb. He was totally wrong on that. But abortion, it was interesting. The teacher made me think about it weird because he's like, what is the problem with abortion? And it's like, well, you can't kill a life. And when does life begin, right? And then it's like, you could boil it back to if you're anti-abortion, you have to also be anti-birth control because you're preventing life from happening. These are living cells that you should never even masturbate or have sex other than for the purpose of procreation because you're wasting all these little living cells. You can take it back that far, and then you really have to start thinking about.
They're doing that. They're trying to do that. There are red states in the South that are doing that, like trying to
take it away. Masturbation.
Oh yeah, go Google it, bro.
I want to be on the enforcement committee.
Jamie, look it up while we're talking.
Okay, so let me go back to immigration then.
You know where I stand. I don't have to make all of your followers that are 80-20 had you vote for Trump again.
Oh, now my whole family, I think all the girls at least are not. But I took a class in law school on immigration because living in Guatemala, I've seen the other side of it, right? So I've been really always sympathetic to, hell yeah, if I was here and I didn't have things going on, I'd take a shot at the border. And here I went in this class. It was a specialized class. There's only 15 of us, and we had to pick a topic and study it throughout the semester and then give a presentation. So I chose illegal immigration. And I did my report, and I'm thinking, I've lived on the other side. These people are all so liberal, so left, and they're all, pompous with their virtue and all their thoughts, and they're so open. And I'm thinking, but I have experience. I've seen the other side. I can actually speak to this topic. I've lived near the border. You guys are in New York. You've never gone south of Washington, right? It's Washington, D.C. So anyway, I get up there and I said, okay, I'm going to present my paper. And the first thing is like a slide. And it's a slide of do you remember, this would have been in like 2006 when there was that militia group that was patrolling the border, the Minutemen or whatever they called themselves?
Yeah. That's what they were called. Yep.
I had a picture of them. And then I had a picture of a protest against that when the people were saying La Reconquista, like they're saying this is our land, you stole our land anyway. So it's kind of like I'm putting that up, and they wanted to run me out already. I was already in trouble showing the Minutemen picture. And then I say, here's my proposal. Right now, everybody who lives in this country gets immediate citizenship. If you're here, go to the immigration office, you're in. But we have to take heavy measures to close the border. I don't care if you have to put the military there, and you need to create a guest worker program that allows people just to come and go as if we go from one state to the other. Like they did not like that policy. They thought that was too discriminatory. So you're left. How did I miss? What did I get wrong?
The guest program, a visa program for work is, it's a missing cog in the wheel for sure. I'm married to a Mexican lady. I have kids. I have dual citizenship. I try to think of myself as nuanced on immigration. And, a lot of times it's Latin America and a lot of times it's Mexico that's part of that conversation. I don't know what the right answer is on the policy and closing down the border. To your comments about colonialism and no one can be illegal and no human is illegal and these are stolen lands. Like I hear a lot of that and I understand that point of view. I also see that process and go, that's a crazy broken process. You shouldn't be able to get in the country just by saying you were in danger in the country of Georgia or El Salvador or wherever. So I don't know. It feels like there was never any effort to make a real process, and it's so broken that I can see the complaints. I can see the reasons people do get concerned. But the answer isn't just to shut it all down and boot everybody out.
But I don't understand the mind thinking of like, you have to be able to like have a border. I mean, Mexico has a border. If I stayed in Mexico, this is why I always say, if I stayed in Mexico or Colombia, wherever, and I outstay my visa, I'm not going to get treated real nice. Like they're not going to give a damn, right? I'm going here and out.
So I lived in Colombia. I worked in Colombia right after college for a few years. And I went there on like a travel visa, a 90-day visa. And my ex-father-in-law had political connections. So I would just get that thing re-upped all the time. So I lived there for a long time on a 90-day visa. So I lived in Ecuador and Colombia. One time I was traveling to this border town in Colombia where I worked, and they stopped me on this bridge and they looked at my passport and it had like 7 90-day visas stamped in it consecutively. And they took me to jail.
What?
Yeah, they took me to jail there. They're like, no, this is obviously falsification of documents. I did not want to be in a Colombian prison for sure. Luckily, and this is the other thing, I don't know how much of this happens. I think it happens less here than in Latin America, but I paid my way out of that situation. But to your point, Ecuador to Colombia, they were going to throw me in jail. When we were on our missions, I made the most epic trek from the highland mountains of the state of Huehuetenango when I lived up in that town that was like 7 hours from a city. I traversed our whole mission just to go to Tapachula, Mexico. But when you're on your mission, you don't have access to your passport. It's locked in some safe in the mission office. So getting across the border from Guatemala to Mexico was also a big deal. So I'm validating your point. In Latin America, they don't take the border crossing as a light thing either. So
did you go to Tapachula for the pizza?
I went to Tapachula for the pizza, and we went to a movie theater. And the movie we saw, it's still a highlight. The fact that this is the movie we went and saw. We saw Disclosure with Demi Moore.
Oh, Michael Douglas, right? Is Michael Douglas in that one?
Yeah, takes place in Seattle, a Seattle law firm.
I can still see the couch scene right now, baby, and I didn't see it in Tapachula.
I won't name all the missionaries that were with me, but yeah, we went for Domino's Pizza, which didn't exist in our mission, and to watch a movie in a movie theater.
Yeah, so you were a mojado in Mexico. Yeah, so I don't understand. Like that's my thing. It's like I don't know what we want to have compassion, but there has to be a border, right? So how do you keep?
Yeah, it's a big one. There needs to be some kind of comprehensive immigration policy.
But the issue is, the issue is when you dehumanize people who are here illegally, then they become somewhat less than in a way.
My mind is very centered on politics right now. So any of these topics, I go to politics. But our friend, little Nazi Stephen Miller, is out there saying that they're going to suspend habeas corpus for the entire country. Like, how does that feel to you as a libertarian with?
Well, I think it's disgusting to say. And what the basis is because in times of invasion, okay, who's invading us? The MS-13? Come on, dude. Oh, yeah, that's yeah. No. Anytime you're going to restrict, if you want to restrict free trade or freedom of my movement, I'm not going with you. I'm not going there. So look at this picture right here. Right, I got another one. This is not you, by the way. I just want you to. I'm gonna have you describe what was happening in this picture. You've never seen it before, and you're gonna look at it and you're gonna describe what was happening and why we were there and what was going on. Ready?
Got it.
Okay, so what's happening in this picture?
You and my main point guard. I say his name wrong and everyone hates it. Elder Dom. What's on the TV there?
His name is Mike Fratello.
He's rocking some illegal pants. You're drinking an illegal beverage. You're watching television, which is frowned upon. But it seems to be an up and up show. It's not like Cinemax late night or something. So it looks a little crazy, but in all the grand scheme of things, I think that's all pretty standard. But that's got, based off his shoes, that's got to be a Monday pre or post basketball.
No, okay, very close. This was the guy on the TV is that Mike Fratello guy that he was an NBA. We were watching the
Oh,
NBA
okay.
playoffs.
Yeah.
And we this is a hotel in Wayway. We rented to do illegal and illicit things like eating bananas in front of the TV and taking pictures. And that's Jeff Dom, yeah. And we would rent that. We would rent, and you and I, we thought of this. We were the pioneers of this. We got
renting hotels
in Wayway. You were there, and
for
somehow
sure.
I had to stay
I
there
was a
sometimes.
zone leader.
Yes.
I was in charge.
And so we rented the first hotel, and lo and behold, if you stay up late enough in a hotel, even in freaking Guatemala, there's going to be some Skinamax on. That felt like it largely inappropriate, but super cool. And then we started telling everybody. And dude, I remember at one point, I don't know if you were there, we probably had 20 of us in a hotel room.
I was there because it's pretty awkward. You got 19 to 21-year-old men who are sexually deprived hanging out with each other.
What are we doing for real? Like, and say it.
Yeah, it's like there was nothing physically nefarious, but everyone's minds the hormones were raging. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're all sitting in the room illegally breaking all the rules, watching some soft porn on the Cinemax. How did we not get busted?
Here's how I can prove I was there. I think I know the movie.
Was Bruce Willis in it, or was Sharon Stone in it? I mean, Shannon Tweed.
No. It was Scorned with Shannon Tweed.
Oh yeah, that was such a good movie. Like, I feel like I'm 19 again talking about it. She was a boss, that lady. But the other movie was In the Color of the Night with Bruce Willis. I remember seeing that movie, and it shows his little. And so, and apparently it was impressively sized. I don't remember thinking that, but it probably was. So anyway, yeah, no wonder.
What a rebel you were.
We didn't end up being Mormons. Like,
so
we didn't have a chance, bro.
We did politics. Should we talk religion?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? I'm gonna take this picture down.
Here's my recent thought. I say I'm very sad. Here's my segue, my attempted segue. I say it's very sad, like what I think's happened politically, and what I see is unfortunately very cultish. A lot of people I grew up with are in their second cult. Like they were in a cult religiously, and they very happily jumped into this other cult. And the first one I can defend. The second one I hate. But the first one, I mean, there's a lot of things about Mormonism. So there's a South Park episode where there's a Mormon kid, and it's super harsh on Mormonism. But at the very end of the episode, the kid says, "Hey, it's my family. We enjoy each other. We have a strong community. We're happy. Like, I'm good with it." And that I kind of feel that way about my upbringing. Maybe it's naive or sheltered, but I had a great upbringing. I don't regret going on my mission. I met a lot of cool people. I became bilingual. I got to get out of my head a little bit as far as a small town. I got to see the world a little bit. At that age, what a great experience. The proselytizing and telling people what they should do and how they should live their life is a little funky. But growing up Mormon for me was awesome. I grew up in a community that was, more Mormon than the most Mormon Utah communities, like Rexburg, Idaho, Driggs, Idaho. Like, we're talking 90 plus. Mm-hmm. 90 plus. So on the religion, I know sometimes I asked to be excommunicated right when I got back from my mission. Pretty soon after that, I'd made the decision probably by the time I left my mission that wasn't a thing for me. But I also don't want to. I have a lot of family members, including my mom, who are still active. I have siblings that are up until recently somewhat active. So it's just crazy to me to see a lot of those people that I care a lot about seemingly joining their second cult in their lifetime.
Well, that's because if you're Aaron's mom and you want to be offended, I'm saying it's not him. It's because to believe religion, you have to learn to let go of any kind of critical thinking. And you just have to believe in the charisma and what the bosses are telling you. It's so easy to do the same thing when you get into politics. You just use the same lack of critical thinking for that. Although I think there's a cultiness sometimes on the left too. I think it's groupthink, and groupthink is, we could call it a cult, but sometimes groupthink and bubble think, you just reinforce yourself, and you can't even conceptualize there being another view. I admit I might be wrong.
I'm 100% guilty of that. I am 100% at this point in an echo chamber for the news I get and the things I see in the algorithm. Like I gravitate, and I think a lot of people do, I gravitate to what I already believe. I'm going to stay in that little bubble for a while because you're
going to cult out in there. Did you ever, I always ask these people, and we don't need to do a Mormon story, but did you ever have a conviction, like a spiritual confirmation that the Mormon church was the only way to do it?
No, but I mean, you'll be familiar with this, but one thing in the Mormon church is you're taught that if you don't feel something, if you don't feel the Holy Ghost, if you don't feel the Spirit, if you don't feel the truthfulness of it, that's your fault, that you don't have enough faith, you haven't prayed enough, you haven't fasted, you haven't followed the rules. So for me, apart from 20 things, whether it's the way they invest money, the abuse, the misogyny, and all those things, the one thing I really, of all the things that I did like growing up Mormon, the one thing I hate is just so guilt-based. Everything is your fault. And a lot of, honestly, I've been exposed to, partners that are Catholic. I've always argued that the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church are essentially identical, except for the restoration and the Holy Trinity. Apart from that, like the abuse, the money, the guilt, it just is identical to me. So,
and I didn't know about
a Mormon thing. But to answer your question,
go ahead.
Yeah, I never had some experience. I never had a in the Grove experience.
What were we talking about before? Because now my edible's kicking in. I'm starting to you're gonna have to guide us through it. At this point, you got to drive.
No, you'd asked if I'd had some kind of convincing experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to take this. I just think I think the community of it, right? You can get enthralled with the community and the ceremony of it. If it's a youth ward at your college and it's just community and common beliefs and a way to meet people, friends or partners, etc. There's a lot of attractiveness to that, but man, the downfalls of some of that religious stuff I think are really, really painful. The crazy thing is, I have a very, very devout Mormon mother, and my daughters have, on the other side, a very devout Catholic set of grandparents, including a grandfather named Trinidad, who was going to be a priest. And they can't. Neither of the grandmas of my two girls can believe they're not baptized. Yeah, they hate it. They hate it so bad that our kids aren't baptized. So, at least
crazy. At
least they both get to feel that angst.
But my question was then, if you never had a conviction, well, you could say, because I can remember events I wrote in my journal, or I convinced myself I was feeling it. I don't know. And but you did a mission, and you came. I remember you talking on the mission like the last 6 months. You're like, I haven't prayed, I haven't done anything. I'm like, what? And so how were you able to just get out so quick? Like, I want to be excommunicated, and I was like, I had another 25 years in me. I was just getting started.
No, but
on the mission, I wasn't like Mr. Missionary. I wasn't like
you were non Mormon Bible Belt Mormon, which it was Dom and Harmston and you from New York and Haddock from Florida. Like everyone that's honest with themselves, there's a difference between Idaho, Utah Mormons and Mormons that have been exposed to a little bit more. So I hear what you're saying when you say you weren't aspiring to be the AP to the mission or whatever. I was, man. I came in gung ho. I was going to knock every door. I was, full tilt. I was super gung ho. I had a pretty interesting first companion who tried to break me really quickly. When you don't speak Spanish and you pretend you want to knock doors and proselytize, and then your trainer's like, go for it, buddy. You can't speak a lick. You suck. Let's knock a bunch of doors and just watch you suffer here.
But he had great hair. He had great hair, from what I remember.
Great hair. He also had me give like a 30-minute speech 2 weeks into the mission to a congregation of like 275 people. Yeah, but so kudos to him. He made me feel so horrible in those situations. Like that I think is the real reason I studied Spanish so hard, because he made me feel like such a horrible student or speaker.
But I think it's one of the reasons we got along well, is because we both really liked Spanish. We liked like new words. You carry a little notebook around, tell me words. I think of something. But man, you wouldn't want to hear me speak now. It's not good. My reflexive verbs are gone, bro.
I did kind of have an epiphany in my mission. And I don't think he did this intentionally, but my dad had given me a book, the Rigoberta Menchú book, and she was an indigenous woman.
I think you might have given it to me. Yeah.
I probably did, because I started, I think, pushing that more than I was pushing the Book of Mormon at some point. But I had this crazy epiphany that, in today's world, a lot of people recognize this, but I was like, I'm this white kid, has no idea about the world, has no idea about the historical beliefs of this area. Like, religions that have been around a little bit longer than Joseph Smith times.
A little bit.
And I'm here telling these people, fire and brimstone, you're going to be saved. You got to do this. You got to pay your 10%. When I read her book and just had a little more context of the people I was talking to and what I was trying to convince them to, I felt really yucky about it.
So you figured it out. You decoded it that easily? I think I had it decoded, but I was trying to fight against it.
The Mormon guilt got me in a reverse. It was an Uno reverse card on the guilt.
it was so much it flipped you the other way. That's crazy. I wish I could have done that.
When I got back here, I was living here in this area, in the Seattle area, and some missionaries knocked on my door. And I was like, hey guys, like, I respect what you're doing. Good on you. I was pretty sure that someone from my home ward sent them to me. I was like, I don't want to talk to you guys. Like, not in a rude way or anything. I was just like, no, I know what you're up to. Just, I've done that, been there, done that. And so the bishop called me. And I remember the phone call. This is a bishop I'd never met before, but here in Renton, Washington. And he's like, are you not coming back to church? You don't believe? He starts grilling me on what I believe, what I don't believe. And I was like, I don't believe in this. I don't believe in that. He's like, are you, like, if you don't believe in that stuff, essentially he was going to track it somehow. I'm like, buddy, excommunicate me. And he goes, do you know what that means? That means what he said, when you come back to the church, you're going to have to be from square one. You're going to have to be baptized again. You have to get the priesthood again. I was like, sign me up. So the missionaries actually were the final kind of coup de grace on my official paperwork.
They did you in? That's ironic. Damn it, you got out quick. And now what do you believe? Anything?
What's that? What do I believe now?
What's your, you're not religious now. So what do you what?
I label myself agnostic. I do. There's a lot of good arguments for atheism, but I still hold on to this thought that there's some greater power, something, and that could even be nature. That could be, I don't know. It's so nebulous and so huge and so diverse to me. And I'm a big believer in science, but I still look out there sometimes and I'm like, seems like a little more than happenstance. So I label myself as agnostic.
I would say I'm exactly the same. Exactly the same. But, it's like, gosh, these people that are doing the simulation now, have you heard them talk? They sound like people who believe in religion.
Is it Neil deGrasse Tyson? Is that how you say his name?
I don't know.
He did.
I know what you're talking about.
He went to Harvard. He was, you know who he is. Interesting dude. Was a wrestler, ironically, a really good wrestler. He does an argument mathematically for the fact that we are in a simulation, and it's pretty compelling.
The problem with the simulation is that you're always looking for the Easter eggs, and it's just like looking for messages from God. You just, it must be, that's an Easter egg. But there are definitely portals. I'm starting to talk myself into it. I think there's portals, energy portals, places. I don't know, man.
Sometimes I see stuff and I'm like, yeah, simulation.
But what if our planet is really just a god playing Sims on his computer in heaven? So like it's like a double. It's like a religious simulation. You can tell
That's
my
what he
edible
talks
kicked in.
about, the fact, the odds of real life versus the odds of a simulation. That just because even if there is some group of whatever entity that's not living in a simulation, the fact that they'll create simulations and those simulations will create simulations, just mathematically, the odds of us being the one that is the original creator of the simulation is highly unlikely.
Oh, that is wild.
But then you ask yourself, if it's a simulation that, I guess, do you believe it's a simulation someone else is kind of controlling us, like the game The Sims or something? Or do you believe?
Yeah, that's how I see it in my mind. I don't believe it, but like that's how I envision it when I think about it. No, because we talked about when I went to Colombia with my friend John. He's like, people have paid to watch they paid a premium add-on to whatever the show they're watching or whatever it is to follow us on our journey through there. So it's like, I don't know. That's not Sims, is it? That's like,
well, that's what I don't know. Is it
I don't know. Big
simulation that
Brother.
we're being controlled but think we have free agency, or do we have free agency and we're causing all of this? I don't know.
I bet it's something like, this is so good. You're completely sober and I'm on a freaking edible. It's like you get to watch someone read a choose your own adventure book where the choices are limited. You know, do you want to shoot the guy now or wait till you go outside? Blah, blah, blah. So I think you get some choices, and then buyers can buy tokens or whatever to put things in your path to affect your choices. Like, so they have a little bit of ownership in your story.
I think about that too sometimes, because I'm like, if this is a simulation, what the fuck am I doing? How did I set this up? So I'm hoping someone is buying those tokens and giving me these challenges.
You guys heard it right here. Premium Easter egg time, baby. Let's drop that shit.
They're going hard on me. Maybe taboo, so you can edit it out. You have sons that went on missions, so you talk about the fact that you stuck with it for quite a while. Like, do you have mixed beliefs within your kiddos, or are they all more aligned with
yeah, there's not, starting from youngest, like Quentin went to Lutheran school more than Mormon, so he didn't. Joe, she's baptized, but no, actually Rochelle resigned and took her out with her, so she's not Mormon. Quentin, Simon, of all the kids, I think that he would be the one, if one was going to be kind of get back into it, would maybe be him. He didn't really do a mission. He would have grown up Mormon, but he didn't go on a mission. But he's not practicing in any way. I don't know for his beliefs. I don't think he doesn't have a strong conviction if he is Mormon believing. And then Marshall, absolutely not. And Max has resigned. I won't resign yet. I can't. It's still a part of me. But Rochelle resigned. So yeah. For the most part, our family get-togethers. That Max was just here, and some of the things we say, and the F-bombs and the rude, like irreverent. I'm like, our family looks completely different than it would have like 7 or 8 years ago. It's wild.
You know, but the real question for you off script, bigger than abortion, more complicated than immigration, more complicated than the drug war, youth sports.
Ooh, what do you want to know? Thoughts on what?
So I've just had this crazy couple of weeks with my kiddos doing these tryouts for soccer, right? And they have a friend, my eldest daughter's oldest friend. Her mom has been texting me the last 2 days because she's over at these tryouts for a different age group. First time trying to get into like club soccer. A girl who's a really, really good athlete, track, really good soccer player, but super stressful for this poor family, this poor mom who's usually pretty even keeled. Like, she just feels she's so stressed about this. Like, am I pushing her too hard? She's going in. All these girls are from the club. They know each other. They're asking her all these technical questions she doesn't know how to answer. Like, she's super stressed that this tryout is supposed to be this fun thing for her kid. Like, she's not going to get offered a spot on this team that she didn't even know existed 6 months ago.
Right. So was there a question behind that? Or you just give them the information?
Just the youth sports industrial complex. It's quite the deal.
It is.
I know I saw you posted a really cool thing that I liked. I don't know if Red House sent it to you or something, just about your interactions with your daughter and those moments beyond sports. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, at least it makes you feel good. Like maybe you're not crazy, because then you get the other one I posted, the Jesus people saying it's Satan's tool. So that's probably what it is. But yeah, it's the problem. The reality of youth sports is, especially my experience with soccer, is you shouldn't be sad if your kid's not that good, because I've had 4 kids play. First kid was probably as good as the 4th kid, but the 2 in the middle weren't great. So it's easy to just see it for what it is, like a tool for them. You don't spend a lot of money, minimal. The problem is when you can see they're good, you feel that your parental instincts kick in, or they have a lot of potential, and you're like, I owed that kid the opportunity to explore this, because it's one of the talents that he or she has. And so if they're not that good at whatever sport they're trying, it's not the worst thing, frankly, because it's going to cause you less headache down the road. But I don't know how you learn the lessons of life that young if you don't do a team sport. I don't know how else you can simulate.
I blame you, though, man. I blame you. I'd never even heard the term ECNL until last July. I didn't even know that was a thing. And then I go.
Oh, when you came to my thing?
Yeah, in Redmond, there's like 838 teams at this thing. We were just a happy little rec soccer family. Kids scoring goals at will, feeling like they're the best soccer players you've ever seen. And then fast forward 10 months. And I'm sitting up at night looking at my phone at 11:15, hoping that this coach gives me an answer. I was like, how did we get here? So I kind of blame you for that.
I'll take it. Was it really going to those games and seeing that thing? Was it really that impactful on you guys? Did it really open your eyes to like the level and what's out there?
It opened my eyes to the level. And honestly, I saw that level, and you've explained to me it wasn't even like super high level ECNL, at least that team at that moment. And I was like, oh God, I don't like, my girls, thanks to their mom, are pretty good athletes. I was like, I don't think they can hang. I don't think they can hang out here technically, and just the understanding of the game movement, because they were just, as you know, they were just flying up and down the field because they were pretty young. But I gotta say, I don't know how much of this is ego, probably a percentage. But this coach, this lady who's going to coach my younger daughter, and she's still playing professionally for the the Sounders team for women, and pretty accomplished professional soccer player, still has, top 10 in goals and assists in the SEC from way back when she played. Like when she says, hey, when I saw your daughter, I knew instantly I wanted to have her on my team. I don't know if that's how much percentage of that is I'm excited for my kid to have this cool opportunity. And there's also your personal ego as a parent. I think sometimes it could be academic, it could be art, it could be sports. I'm trying to separate that, where it's like, okay, this isn't me as a failed athlete trying to push my kids. I'm hoping not. It's them having some identity. And for young women, especially, I'm super into the fact that they identify as athletes versus identifying as something else that I wouldn't, prefer. But it's a trip to not even ever knowing that term to being like super excited about it 10 months later.
Well, that's good, because it's been shoved in our face for years. Like, you got to get there. You got ECNL. A lot of work, a lot of fun. But the beautiful thing is, I always tell parents, because I've done it with my older boys, about the time your kids turn 15, especially when they start driving themselves, it no longer is your thing. It is 100% their thing. So you're like on this thing where it's really your thing, and you're forcing them to go. And then you start this journey where it's like you go down, they go up. And at some point you're the same one, and then it's like, boom. And I've definitely gotten there this year with Joe, not my daughter, Joe, who's 16, not coaching her. And now her driving herself to practice, it is her thing. And it's so fun to watch. At that point, you're just like watching your little.
Do you miss it? Do you miss driving her? Do you miss being in the car? Do you miss that piece of it?
Yeah, it was nice. We drove on the long trips. She doesn't drive. I do. And there's times when I actually will go with her. But they grow up, man. And then it's like, they don't need you as much in that way. So you got to take advantage of the time while you got it. They become little women. They want to get on the phone. And my feed's bad. Oh, stinky feet.
No, I was just going to say, I was saying when they grow up and they leave you, you have to get deep into reggaeton and that sort of thing. You have to have other habits.
Yeah, talk about the simulation. Completely changing the subject. I wasn't listening to any reggaeton until 2021. Okay. And it was, wait, just no, it would have been, when was COVID? March of 2020. So maybe January or February of 2020, Marshall comes off his mission and he's jamming this new kind of music, right? And I had heard of like the big, like a few
But
of the
he was in
songs.
Argentina, right?
Correct. But he came home and he was playing, everything was reggaeton, everything. Trap, like he liked trap and then reggaeton. Trap is like Spanish rap. And so that was my first introduction. I didn't really catch on. And then Rochelle met a friend who was not Spanish speaking or anything, but this woman was obsessed with reggaeton because she had met some guy, a Colombian guy that she kind of fell for, and so she became. And she was playing it, and she was playing the song Calladita. And Marshall goes, does she even know what that song's about? Because the Calladita is about a shy girl who turns into like a club girl. And so then, and I'm like, no, she has no clue. So he's like, oh, and then I don't know. And then the music just, I felt good listening to it. It's just so good. And then you start to find more artists, and next thing you know, you're in freaking Medellin seeing Karol G live, and
Dude,
you see Bad Bunny.
Gone down the rabbit hole big time.
You did? You're down the Karol G rabbit hole?
You are. I love it. It's been fun to see. I was talking to this guy from Dominican Republic, and I was telling him we were going to chat tonight, and I was like, you wouldn't believe it. It's this other white guy speaks Spanish. I go, but he's way into Bad Bunny and Karol G and these other artists, and he's younger than me. But I was like, we start talking. I was like, I still love like Don Omar and Aventura and Wisin and Yandel and
those two right there,
Yankees and some of that. Like some of that old school stuff I really like. But this latest Bad Bunny album, like Lucia listens to a lot of that stuff in the kitchen, but she also listens to a ton of like old school Spanish music, like 90s stuff. And I was like, you got this new Bad Bunny album's actually really, really good. Dude, my kids know all the lyrics. The number of plays in our freaking kitchen washing dishes of Bad Bunny. Like now my girls are at the point of just like, please don't put on Bad Bunny anymore. So you've influenced us in a few ways. You've actualized in the Spanish sense, meaning updated our reggaeton playlist.
Oh, it's so good. And then when you go, like seeing her in her hometown was great. But then I feel like I've seen that city. So I see, how could a young little girl just from the barrio just make it to fill, 3 nights in the Madrid sold out stadium. It's crazy.
Well, when we were coming home from probably soccer, but we were on the ferry and Lulu was watching the Karol G documentary on Netflix. And I was like, do you have subtitles on? And she's like, nope. And I'm like, okay, then you can watch
language. Did you watch the documentary yet?
The Karol G one? No.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you'll like it. You got to watch it.
I listened to it because we're like, what's the name of her recording album? Like Bizcocha?
Oh, Bichota.
Bichota.
Yeah.
Lucy, we hear that. She's talking about Bichota, and it's a Bichota, and we look at each other and we're like, yeah, okay. Keep going, 13-year-old.
Yeah.
I love seeing it from afar. I love how into it you are. It's fun.
I'm 50
anytime someone has passion about something, it's cool.
What's weird, God bless Rochelle. She puts up with it. She's like, oh, every night. I don't feel good listening to anything else. I try and listen to some reggae sometimes and some hip hop, country, but there's nothing like reggaeton for me. And I think, dude, it tripped me out when I went. I was trying to understand. I don't know if we talked about this when we had lunch. You never really stopped speaking Spanish. You went on the mission and you got back and you would always date Spanish speakers and travel and live there. I had a break with it, right? You try to stay connected, but it's not the same. Yeah. And I hadn't really been back to a Latin American country since Guatemala, really, where it would be considered like that. Like Mexico's for me not quite like that. And that's really, I'd only been to Mexico. And so I get to Colombia in a couple years ago. And when I got there, I literally felt like when I speak Spanish and I'm in this city, I felt like it made me feel 20 years younger. Like I don't know, speaking Spanish, I associate with a younger, more vibrant, energetic me. Nice. And so I think that's why I like it so much. I like the, and there's a Latin vibe. I don't know how to explain it.
But the time portal, I do think I remember learning Spanish and it felt like my brain was splitting. And neurologically, they now can point to the fact that if you learn another language and you do it like holistically. Like if you're really bilingual, you are using different parts of your brain. And it's interesting because that's probably what you're probably accessing a portion of your brain that maybe you let go a little more dormant for a while.
For sure. There's no question. And I think that's why I like the music. And I just like, I don't know.
I have a different voice. My kids are like, they call me Doppy. It's a bastardization of Dad and Poppy and
okay, Doppy
and Aaron. Aaron become Darren. And anyway, they call me Doppy. But they're like, Doppy, how come when you speak Spanish you have a different voice than when you speak English? And I'm like, because you have to. Like you can't speak a different.
Yeah,
I just think you got to split it. It's got to be completely separate. And as far as language nerddom, I was always super anti-Spanglish. I was always like, you got to keep it pure. If you're going to speak one, you got to not mix them up.
Those Spanglish speakers though, they can flip in and out. The reggaeton artists do it all the time in their songs and in interviews. It's like, and it's weird because there are some ways to say things better in English and some ways to say better in Spanish. And so I can see if you just wanted to maneuver and do the easy way for both, I would be interested to try and talk like that. Just try and, I don't know, it'd be kind of fun.
I give my kids no sabo tests all the time. Like I always tell them, I'm like, my Spanish is so much better than yours. And they're like, no, it's not. I was like, okay, 10 words. How do you say this in Spanish? How do you say this in Spanish? And they do pretty well.
Do they, you guys primarily speak English?
Oh my gosh, we were so stringent. So the first 4 years of Lulu's life, we spoke 100% Spanish in the house.
How did she learn English?
Friends and TV and that sort of thing. But
okay.
This was a lazy excuse. So Lulu is 2 years older than Anna. When Anna was 2 years old, so 4 years in, so Anna, her first 2 years was only Spanish. And Lucia is a Nazi about it. Like if I slip out of it, she was like, we're speaking Spanish. My kids need to be able to speak to their grandparents. Anna, as a 2-year-old, couldn't speak English. Like her babysitters and stuff, like she couldn't speak with them. And I was like, screw this. I want to talk to my kids in English. I'm going back to English. So we did 4 straight years, and then I got lazy.
Because I've heard that one parent should do the one language, one should do the other. I'm sure you guys looked into that. That's just what I've heard.
I mean, that makes sense. It makes sense. But I also need to keep my stuff as non-rusty. But you're so pally. What's the right word? Like you're so flexible to Spanish. Like, so when I came back from Guatemala, I spoke like a Guatemalan. My girlfriend was Guatemalan. That's how I spoke. That's what my accent was. And then I married a Colombian, and pretty soon, like I'd be on sales calls and they'd be like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from Idaho. No, but where are your parents from? I'm like, they're from Idaho. And they're like, why do you sound Colombian? And then when I met Lucia, we would talk about different slang and different, words that were used Colombia versus Mexico. Now, when I talk to people, I sound Mexican. If it's not your native tongue, you just fall into whatever you're around.
I think that's true. So they, Lucia still is all Spanish all the time with them?
She is in the house.
That's good.
But I'm pretty lazy.
Well,
I'm pretty lazy with it. We tried. We'll get on little kicks where we'll go a few days and I'm pretty good with it. And the girls used to be pre-COVID. They would go to Mexico enough that their Spanish was really good. But then during COVID, just since they weren't going there very often, it got pretty rusty.
Are there times now when you're watching a show on TV like Netflix in Spanish or something, do you catch it all? Or are there times when you're like, that's really fast or really slingy?
I'm pretty good, but there's so much slang, especially because Netflix has so many production groups in different countries. Like Narcos, the Colombian Narcos, I was good, especially because the dude playing Pablo was, Brazilian. So he wasn't going too crazy. So I was 100% good there. Like there's so much slang in Mexico that I get lost a little bit sometimes.
Oh, so you were going to say the other seasons of Mexico of Narcos. I could not understand who was the main character, the little skinny guy with the goatee. Like there was some slang, and I was like, I don't understand it. Ni pedo, this and that, and I'm like, this is They don't. Everything's a pay though. I don't understand.
I'll send you a great meme about pedo. Pedo means like 50 things in Mexico.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But it's so. I mean, if I had to pick one language to speak, I'd speak Spanish.
I mean, it's the most beneficial for us where we live.
And for that alone, it was worth it to go to Guatemala.
Yeah.
But then you get these guys who wasted their time there, didn't learn the language, took shortcuts, wouldn't conjugate a verb, took no pride in it, but they thought they were doing God's work. Sons of bitches. You ever have anger phase about religion? You got out of it so early. You wouldn't be angry.
I still, not on a personal level, I don't, because I didn't invest as much as you did.
But don't you get anger about just what religion does in general? Like, if you look at the world.
The financial piece of it, I think, is disgusting. Like when all the stuff came out from the Mormon Church, like the hedge fund shit they were doing, like, and this is a little too close to home for me, but my mom, who worked minimum wage post office job until she retired, the fact that she would religiously pay her tithing and then have to go attest to it, like the fact that then that money, which I think she thought was earmarked for helping people, the fact that they're using that to trade GameStop and meme coins and shit, I hate it. I don't get that at all. I do not get how people could get behind that. And then there's people in general conference are like, pay your 10% even if you can't feed your kids. Like,
yeah, pay your tithing first.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
No, literally, you can't feed your kids, and if you can pay more than 10%, God's blessings. I that kind of stuff pisses me off.
I was talking more. That's true. I was talking more about like when I went to Europe, I saw the old churches. I started looking at these, and I'm like, they're really nice features, but some dude spent his whole life working on this thing. I mean, it's like, what are we doing? And then you like look at all the wars and everything. It's like it's all religious based. So it's like, freak, dude. Like religion causes everything.
Yeah, really, I mean, you want to believe, and it's crazy because I think with just the way we're wired, we're so tribal. And I think we're tribal. I think we're still in our lizard brain. We're pretty good with about 40 to 50 people. And yet we're on our phones, not really religion, but just how all of these beliefs, can't really be tribal when you got billions of people. Like we're ingesting the news of billions of people at such a rapid pace. I don't think our brains are made for it. And I think with religion, like, I think when people were segregated geographically or other ways, religion maybe wasn't horrible. But now some of these religions that are butting heads with each other, obviously historically the cause of many and most wars, but it's going to get worse, I think.
Oh, Lordy. I thought people were getting less religious. That's why we're not having any babies and the world's going to end. So Elon Musk is going to have them all.
We're just getting away with the separation of church and state, and we're going to have these in the White House Christian faith promoting bullshit like
that. Yeah, that was another reason why I moved away from Republican when I saw this whole contingent of Southern Baptists and that crew, like the very Bible Belt people. I'm like, they want less freedom than they want free. We want freedom, government out of our lives. No, so you can control with your freaking your laws and your mores or whatever they call us. It's crazy.
You're a good dude, man.
I am.
Yeah, I appreciate this rekindled friendship. I do.
Yeah, it's nice. Kind of wild, isn't it?
From afar, your adventures and your parenting and your sports and your reggaeton obsession, and just you do a really nice job of trying to be pretty transparent about the good and the bad, and most of us don't do that. And I know you speak about it. I am definitely guilty. I do not post anything negative that's happening in my life on social media. Your wife, I think, quit following me because she didn't want the political stuff.
Oh, where is she? I'm gonna beat her ass. Oh wait, can I say that on YouTube? I'm gonna definitely edit that out. Keep going.
No, she said, she was very kind. She said, I love seeing updates of your family and the things you're doing, but do you have to post all this political stuff all the time? I get it.
Yeah, I get it. And you know what? They're trying to get her to run for office here. So,
oh really?
Oh yeah.
But I switched topic at the end. You do a good job. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. You interrupted your compliment of me. That's upsetting.
I did. I undersold my own compliment of you and took it another direction, but to put a
But
ribbon on it, it's been fun to watch.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think we use the answer to Rochelle's question to you is I'm going to use social media for however I want to use it in my life because no one else is going to tell me how to do anything. So I want to post. It's almost therapy for me at times. Sometimes I don't know why I hardly have any followers, but I like to create. I'm creative and I can't be creative in my job, so I can create different ways. And I think it makes me a net bet. It's a net benefit. And when it's not, I don't post. With you, it's probably a net benefit for you to be able to, you see a TikTok that pisses you off. It's an issue you care about. You're legitimately into. I remember election night, you were apoplectic. And so it's your way of, at least if you feel like you can, it's just as almost like sending a nasty email to someone that you're pissed off at. You just at least get it out there. And
you know what's part of it? Like, I fully recognize me posting something is not going to change anyone's mind. I totally get that. I don't post to change people's mind. I post one for like solidarity to other people who feel that this is crazy, to say like, hey, I'm with you. I see this. I also agree this is crazy. So some solidarity there. But then I also post just to like try to not let myself change, because some of this stuff I think is insidious, and I don't want to forget some of these things that I think are crazy as they're happening. So it's almost like a little stake in the ground of, hey, this is crazy, and I'm still noticing. Like, I haven't turned it completely off. And honestly, health-wise, I think it would be better to just, my earlier comment about we're just getting way too much information of a lot of people. I think blocking it all out would probably be pretty healthy for most of us.
Yeah, and that's why I think we've talked about it. Why I was definitely more political on Facebook, and around the Ron Paul time, I would have debated anything on anybody on anything. But at the end of the day, it just feels like you're beating your head against the wall, and it's like I can do that, or I can listen to some reggaeton. You know what I mean? Chill, and I'm on the periphery. But it's kind of like when you're the cool guy who won't dance at the dance. Nobody can make fun of the way you dance. So I'm that guy, right? But I watch it and I'm like, a lot of this debate about issues, to me, the parties have completely flipped. To me, they're flipped. So in principle, what a principled liberal would want would be a lot of the policies that are on the right. All of a sudden, the Democrats are pro-war. It used to be the complete opposite. So, and Republicans would never want a tariff. So it's completely flipped. But I just see a little bit of people. It's like you only root for the people who are on your team. So you're not thinking critically, but not you, but people don't think critically about
I'm guilty of it as well.
You don't think critically about each issue. You have to do what is our party? So, I can differ a little bit, but I got to kind of toe that line. And I feel like we talked about this on tariffs, the example. Dems would want tariffs if it was done properly and in an organized manner, and Republicans wouldn't. It's kind of the flip too for me. I think from the data I've seen, I could get this wrong. Biden was not easy on immigration.
Dude, Obama was the biggest deporter of any president ever.
Right.
His first term, Obama, he deported 3 million people.
And so you would say, okay, so there's times when that's okay, but because the other side's doing it, and now we can talk about how they're doing it, it's a different deal. But how in generally speaking, the numbers are not even as high as Obama. Why is this guy the next state? See what I'm saying? So you can kind of see and like, okay, it's like when the ref fucks every game up, everybody thinks. If you ever watch a game objectively, most of the time the ref gets it right. It's just the emotions of people clouding their vision on it. So that's why I get nervous to get in it, because I'll be the same. I'll be clouded by my worldview.
Well, the truth is this is repetitive, but the truth is there aren't really two choices. The parties are, to your point, they flip-flop and they're essentially the same thing. But
that's why Bernie,
they divide us by pitting us against each other, that we're so different. They're not very different when you get down to a lot of the core issues.
And that's why I love the Ron Paul and I love the Bernie. And Bernie's, I don't probably agree with him on anything other than he's a good human, and his view of doing things is to try to make the world better, right? So it's not like he's a bad guy. Just I don't agree with how he does it. But I would have voted for Bernie, because I like people who break the mold. Then the problem is there's another dude that fits into a break the mold character, and we're dealing with him right now. So you got to be careful with the mold breakers, because I don't think there's a lot of difference if you go from Ronald Reagan to freaking Trump. there wasn't a huge difference between the presidents. Really, not big.
Go listen to some Reagan speeches. Listen to some Reagan speeches about immigration and our partners in the world. Like this isolationist stuff of making enemies of longtime, allies. That is not a good thing. Like in the tariff stuff, but also in the military space, there's a lot of different spaces where us isolating, I'm completely against. I think that's really nasty. Like I was watching a documentary. I'm getting old because I love World War II shit, but it was the bombing of London, which went on for like way longer than I even remember. And what was going on there, and Churchill helping his people through that, what the Americans were doing to be part of that allied relationship, the stuff that they're doing to Canada. Like, why is Canada our enemy all of a sudden? Like, why are we fighting with Canada? That's wasted energy. But what's going to happen is these countries, whether it's soybean farmers in the United States, like China's like, cool, we'll buy them from Brazil. Cool. You don't want the world monetary policy to be tied to the US dollar? Sweet. We didn't ever want it either.
Mm-hmm.
I just think some of this stuff is damaging long term. It really, something that may have already been coming anyway is going to happen much quicker. And it's not to the benefit of Americans.
Hopefully you're wrong. Maybe you're not.
There's been a lot of times I've hoped I was wrong. Like you were saying COVID started like March of 2020. I pulled my kids out of school in January and people thought I was the craziest person you'd ever met.
You were on it early. I remember you telling me and I was like,
they're not going to close schools. I was like, cool. I want to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't want to die. Let's figure out what's going on before we, But then I look back at my kids playing soccer in masks, those pictures, and I'm like, what the fuck were we doing?
Couldn't golf.
What were we doing?
They closed it was crazy. And that was a wild time. We'll have to dissect that one some other time. You were definitely early. You knew. I just remember the opposite going like, okay, if it's as bad as he thinks it is, it's going to kill us all. So I'm not going to worry about it.
That's a logical way to look at it. My thought process was, dude, you live on a little island in the woods, no bridge to your island. Your family's pretty self-sufficient in certain ways, our own well, wood, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if we're ever going to take advantage of this, let's give this 30, 60, 90 days and just see where this goes.
Yeah, that's all I know. It's terrible. Although it did get me out of church and it started me drinking tequila, and got me into reggaeton. So that was a special time, matter of fact, those COVID days.
COVID was good for you.
In hindsight, it was, but it was scary.
Brother, I have to go put kids to bed.
Okay.
I have to go put some kids to bed. I've enjoyed this. We should do this. This was our rough draft of this. Feel free to publish anything. I have no qualms about anything I said here. I don't know that anyone would listen to my old man rantings, but I enjoyed the conversation. Apart from the podcast, I enjoyed the conversation.
It's great. It's great. And it forces us to do it. Okay. Thanks, bro. We'll do it again for sure.
Yeah, we can rope in some other people and then we can
come on in. Say hi to Erin real quick. We just talked about you.
What'd you say?
Here, if you can hear him. He's got to put kids to bed. He was saying how you don't follow him on Instagram anymore because he's putting political posts, and I was like, you can't unfollow for that.
I don't unfollow. I just don't comment.
I'm not recording. I got to stop the recording.
You were